everybody, it's Dave, Blue Jacket 66 here for another video. And the question here is, do I own the rarest vintage Mickey Mantle card? Now, we're not talking about a numbered 101 card. We're not talking about manufactured rarity. We're talking about a true rarity in a vintage Mickey Mantle card. Maybe, maybe not. Let's take a look. Now, as you guys might know, I'm a Mickey Mantle collector. I'm not a super collector. I'm really just interested in his vintage cards, specifically food and beverage cards. I think beyond his regular Topps and Bowman's issue, but he does have some extremely rare cards out there. That when we talk about rarity and value, with Mickey Mantle, rarity pretty directly correlates to value or cost. So let's go over some of these rarer issues of his. The first would be, we'll just talk a little bit about the 1967 Punch-Out set. I'm not going to talk a lot about it because I honestly don't know much about it. It's really much a kind of a test issue, pretty much released, I think, in the Maryland area, and it's kind of cellophane packs of 3. That's about all I know. And if you take a look at it, the Mantle representation is like the other player representation, just a little player at the top. Sometimes there's multiple players, but just a little picture at the top. You know, he's 5% of the entire card, so not a big interest of that for me. I know that there's about 5 of these graded, I would say, amongst the grading companies. Maybe a couple more, but it's some sort of test baseball game, and I've never really looked at one enough or read about to see what it's all about. Valuable and extremely rare card. The next up, really rare. I want it, you know I want it. The 1952 Tip Top bread label Mantle. These were on the ends of bread, just as an enticer to buy the bread, and to have that part of your collection, you would have had to have gingerly removed it from the bread plastic itself. So as you can imagine, these are extremely condition sensitive. Very few of them survived. I would say PSA's grade 15 or so. There was just one in a Robert Edwards auction that went for a large amount of money. These are always in either authentic or poor condition. I think there probably are a couple that are in high condition. How that happens, I'm not quite sure. Next is the 1953 Yamakatsu card. Yamakatsu is a set of Japanese cards from the 50s, I think all the way up to the 70s, maybe later. I have seen, I think, one of these in a national in the past. These are very valuable and very rare black and white issues. I think that PSA's graded a couple and SGC one. Very valuable and sought after card. Not as valuable and sought after, I don't think, as our friend, the 1961 Dice Game Mantle. This was another test issue card. I think there was probably 13 players in the test issue. I'm not sure why it wasn't released, because I think looking at the card, it looks like a complete card. I don't know if ultimately it was going to be colorized or not, but essentially it's some sort of dice game, and on the back there's a play or outcome of a play that kind of correlates with the dice number on the back. But I know the big ones of that set are Mantle, he's the biggest. Then there's a Maze, Frank Robinson, I think a Musial, and I think 9 others. You will see them on occasion. I remember seeing a Maze come up several years ago. I think some of the common players perhaps are affordable, but probably a pinnacle of Mantle for Mantle collectors. Next, this is my holy grail of Mantle cards. If I could just have one card, this is what I would have. The 1954 Mascot Dog Food card. This card was unknown to the collecting world until a couple years ago. when one showed up, it was in a rather obscure auction. It wasn't Wheatland. I can't remember what it was. But it's funny. No one would grade it. The mascot dog food is a known issue, but I think Robin Roberts is the only player known, and there was not a checklist, so no one would grade it. But BVG did grade the mascot dog food as a pour. It had a pinhole in it, and boy, I was bidding on it, and I should have bid on it and won it. Although you say that, it may have gone for way more than it did if maybe the person who won it as bad as I did. But I wasn't convinced that it was real because there'd never been a Mantle seen before, let alone I think any other card than Roberts. But ultimately another Mantle has surfaced. I think the BVG or the BGS one, I'm sorry, I held at the Dallas card show last year, and it's the best card I've ever held in my life. But another one has surfaced, and also a Barra and a few other players. I really wish in an auction last year, when the second Mantle came up, there was a Barra too, and I was really focusing on the Mantle, although I knew I wouldn't get it. But something happened, and I really wish I would have got the Barra. The Barra went for big money too. It's just an awesome card. So the 1954 mascot dog food. I don't know, on the back it says something about sending in a dog food label, and 25 cents, and you get to be a member in the club. You get a signed 8x10, and whatever, you get a pin and like 10 postcard, and I don't know if these are the quote postcard pictures you get, but you get 10 postcard pictures with autographs or facsimile autographs of players. So their mascot dog foods are so cool. What about there's only two of those mascot dog foods. So the dice game, there's two. The mascot dog food, there's two. And a really cool card and very rare is the 1954 Yoo-Hoo chocolate milk Mantle. There's a cool Barrow one too, but I think there's 5 of these. Just really expensive, all those that I've just talked about. So I don't know. The Punch Out's 5, the Tip Top Bread 15, the Yamakatsu maybe 3, the Dice Game 2 or 3, the mascot dog food, we know there's 2, and the Yoo-Hoo there's 5. But I own one that there has only been one graded. There's only one known, we should say, at least one amongst all grading companies. So for right now, and it's obscure, and I admit this is kind of squeaking in the back door as far as the Rarest Mantle, because it's not mainstream, but heck, any of those that I listed above aren't mainstream either. But let's look at mine, the one and only copy of this, and the rarest Mickey Mantle card. Hold on. Well, we know 1969 was Mantle's last year for his regular Topps issue, and we know his 1969 Topps name in white, name in yellow cards. And we also know this beautiful card, the 1969 Topps Super that I've showed mine before. Mine's a PSA 8. This is just an exemplar here of really a fantastic set, the 1969 Topps Supers. They're not common. I think Mantles, I don't know how many there are. They're like 120 or so graded. These were a test issue, released just in small amounts in small areas, and there was some sort of a truck fire where a majority of them actually were lost. So, ultimately they became the larger size 70 and 71 Topps Supers, and you remember the 1970, the football, the glossy, those beautiful cards. They're about the same size as these. These Topps Supers are smaller cards. As you can see that they're rounded and glossy and made of heavy stock. I do have one of those, but that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is my Rarest Mantle, and this is the only known copy of the 1969 Topps Super But this is a proof. Square. It's from somewhere in the process of making the top supers. This is a square cornered proof. It's not been cut out or rounded. There's nothing on the back. And it is the only known existing copy of this. There may be an uncut sheet. I first saw this in Huggins and Scott, this exact card, in 2017. So this is just super cool. There's nothing on the back, whereas the top supers, 69 top supers, ultimately is a little bit something on the lower back. And of course, it's not cut out, it's not rounded, it's very raw and just a proof. And this is the only one. There are other players that have square corner proofs. I think that there's a Maze or a few Maze out there and a few common players, actually. But this is the only Mantle. Is it the rarest Mantle? Maybe, maybe not. But this is, right now, of all the grading companies, the only graded one. And I've never seen another raw one, and I've done a pretty extensive search. If I'm wrong, let me know below. It won't hurt my feelings at all. The rarest Mickey Mantle card, the 1969 Top Super, but it's the square corner proof. You guys have a Merry Christmas.